Hey everyone, and welcome to RUBIN'S Mind Lab, where we break down the latest research into what it really means. Have you ever felt that even when you are fighting for something you truly believe in, your body feels like it is under attack? We usually think of liberation and social progress as these big, exciting wins. But is it possible that the road to change is actually more stressful for the people who want it the most? Most science on social change focuses on the people who are losing status. It turns out that when people in power feel like they are losing ground, they get stressed, defensive, and stuck in a state of threat. But this new study decided to ask a different question. What about the minoritized people, the ones actually pushing for the change? Does finally reaching for progress feel like a victory? Or does it feel like a heavy burden? The researchers brought together two groups of people, LGBTQ plus participants and cisgender heterosexual participants, to see how they would react when discussing a major hypothetical change. This change was the introduction of a non-binary constitution in the Netherlands. They essentially asked these participants to stand in front of a microphone and share their opinions, while the researchers tracked their heart rate and blood pressure. Scientists use these physical clues to look for two patterns. One is called the challenge response, which is your body saying, I can handle this, I have the resources, and I am ready to go. The other is a threat response, which happens when your body thinks you are in danger, making you feel constricted, anxious, and worried about failing or being attacked. This was a really surprising result. The people who stand to gain the most from this progress actually felt more threatened by it than by the status quo. Now, keep in mind that the p-value is like a fluke-o-meter. If it is very low, the results are probably real and not just a weird coincidence in the data. The heart rate and blood pressure readings here were clear. Even if you support a cause with your whole heart, the process of changing the system feels like a high-stakes, stressful demand on your body. Meanwhile, the cisgender heterosexual participants actually felt like they were in a challenge state. It was almost as if they viewed the discussion as a debate they were ready to win, rather than a threat to their survival. So why does this happen? The study found that for the LGBTQ plus participants, the stress came down to a lack of personal resources. It is not necessarily that they do not have their community, but that the weight of the change felt like it was resting on their own shoulders. When you feel like you are fighting against the current, or that you might be retaliated against for speaking your truth, your body naturally puts your survival mode into overdrive. But here is where the story gets really interesting. Even though these participants were feeling physically threatened, they did not back down. The researchers sorted the participants into groups based on how they described their feelings. One group, which they called the concerned moralists, stood out. These were mostly LGBTQ plus people who acknowledged that they were worried about failing or facing backlash, but they balanced that fear with a strong sense of moral hope. They felt like they had the collective support of their community, and because of that, they were the ones most likely to sign up for protests and express strong support for the change. To me, this tells a really important story about the toll of activism. It implies that people are often pushing for justice while their bodies are screaming that they are in danger. They are not acting because they are calm or comfortable. They are acting in spite of their stress, fueled by their conviction. This is a huge realization because it suggests that progress might be coming at a hidden health cost for the very people leading the charge. If we want people to keep advocating for a better world, we have to recognize that the stress is real, and the threat is not just in their heads, it is in their cardiovascular systems. Now, this study does have some limitations. It looked at a specific type of legal change in a laboratory setting. Life outside the lab is much messier, and humans are way more complex than a 2-minute speech task. But the core finding is a loud warning. We cannot just focus on the goal of liberation. We have to look at the process. We need to build movements that do not just ask for courage, but also provide the safety and support that keep people from burning out. Future research could look at how we can turn that threat back into a challenge response, maybe by intentionally cultivating those collective resources that keep us feeling secure. If we can make the road to liberation feel a bit less like a gauntlet and a bit more like a community effort, we might be able to sustain that progress for the long haul. What do you think? Does this match your experience when you try to stand up for something you care about? Do you feel that extra weight on your chest when you know the stakes are high? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this dive into the psychology of how we change the world, please hit that like button, leave a comment with your thoughts, and subscribe to the lab for more science that gets to the heart of being human. See you next time.